All right, so this is section 1.2, and these are examples from the book. So what it wants us to do here is simplify the given expression. So we have 17 minus 3 plus 5 and 19 minus 4 plus 13. So if we remember, we're going to go from left to right. So we'll go and do these two first. So 17 minus 3, that's going to give us 14, and then plus 5. And 14 plus 5 is going to give us 19. Now, on this one, again, we'll go left to right. So 19 minus 4 first. That will give us 15. And then we're going to add 13 to that. And so we'll line up our numbers. And so that's going to give us 28. So if you need to look at it lined up, 15 and 13, 5 plus 3 is 8, 1 plus 1 is 2, and that's what we'd get. And if we need to do the 19 minus 4, 9 minus 4 is 5, 1 minus 0 is 1, and that's how we got that one. And the same thing worked for this one. 17 minus 3, 7 minus 3 is 4, 1 minus that's 1, and 14 plus 5, 5 plus 4 is 9, and 1 plus 0 is 1. And so that's how we got our two numbers of 19 and 28. Now this one says the width W and length L of a rectangle are given. Find the perimeter of the rectangle. So they give us the length and widths, and we're supposed to find the perimeter. Now what do we remember about the perimeter of a rectangle? Well, if we had our rectangle, sometimes it's good to draw a picture. We have length and length and width and width. And so we're going to have to add them up along here. So if we took 2 times L plus 2 times W, that would give us, or we could just take L plus W and get it that way as well. So depending on how we wanted to look at this, this would be 4 plus 6 plus 4 plus 6. So, if we start here, this is going to be our first one. 4 plus 6 plus 4 plus 6. That's what we would have. And to simplify, those two are the same, so that's going to be 10 plus 10. That's going to give us 20. And again, remember your units, inches. Okay. Well, what about this one? Well, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to start here in the width, so it'll be 5 plus 8 plus 5 plus 8. Going the width, the length, the width, the length, width, length, width, length. And then again, because those two are the same, that'll be 13 plus 13. Well, 13 plus 13 is 26. Okay. All right, so that's a rectangle. Now what about the square? Well, remember the square, all sides are the same. And so if we have 21 inches, that one's going to be 21, that's going to be 21, that's going to be 21, that's going to be 21. So we could just take and add 21 4 times. And if we did that, we could line them up on top of each other and say add. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8. And so we would get 84 inches as our perimeter. And we could have also taken 21 times 4 if we wanted to do that, but we haven't really got to the multiplication yet, so this is probably a good way to do it. But that's what's really happening is you're adding those 4 together, and so we're taking 4 times that and getting our perimeter. Now what about 18? Well, that's the same thing. It's going to be 18 plus 18 plus 18 plus 18. Well, 8 plus 8 is 16, and 16 plus 16 is going to give us 32. So that's going to be a 2 here, and we have to carry the 3, because 4 eighths together is 32. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 3 is going to give us a 7, and so that's going to give us 72. In this case, it's meters. And again, remember your units when you're doing perimeters and eventually area and other things where we have actual units on the number. Okay. All right, so these look like we're just supposed to add 3 numbers together, or in some cases, we're going to subtract some numbers off here. So I'm going to go ahead and just put these in order as far as I'm going to line them up vertically and then just add. So I'll have 140, I'll have 962, and 817. And I'm adding. So we start with the right column. 7 plus 2, That's 9. I don't have to carry. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 1 is 11, so I'll have a 1 here, and I'll carry a 1. 9 plus 1 is 10, and then 1 plus 8 is 9, so that's 19. And so it looks like my solution here will be 1,919, adding those three numbers together. Now what about the next one? Well, again, vertically adding them. 8, 9, 9, 9, oops, I was going to put 966. 996 and 295. Again, adding. All right, well, 6 plus 5 is 11. 11 plus 9, that's going to give us 20. So we can think about it this way. 6 plus 5, well, that's 11, plus 9. 9 plus 1 is 10, and that's 2, so that's 20. And here we have 9 plus 9 plus 9. Well, 9 plus 9 is 18, plus another 9. That's going to give us 27. And then we had 2 more, so that's 29. Well, here we have 8 plus 2 is 10. 9 plus 2 is 11. So 10 plus 11 is 21. And so we have 2190 is our addition of those three numbers together. Now, granted, it said we should associate those two first and add them, and then add that one together. But because we know how this works, we could just say, well, we're just going to add from left to right, or add all of these together and do it that way. And again, it doesn't really matter with addition. It really matters if we do subtraction, okay? So we could have added those two first and then added the 295 to that, or we just add them all three together like we did here, which is the same thing as what we did in the first one. Okay. Now what about the next one? Well, the next one we have to work from left to right. We have to do this subtraction first. And so that's going to give us 9626 minus 8363. And so now we start on the right side. 6 minus 3 is 3. 2 minus 6. Well, we have to have a bigger number on top. So that means we have to borrow. So let's change colors when we borrow here. Let's borrow 1 from here, and that make that a 5. And that means that becomes 12. Okay. So 12 minus 6, well, that's 6. Then we have 5 minus 3, well, that's 2. 9 minus 8, well, that's 1. So that first part is 1, 2, 6, 3, and then we still have minus 1052. So now we have 1263 minus 1052. Well, this one's kind of nice. We don't have to borrow here. 3 minus 2 is 1. 6 minus 5 is 1. 2 minus 0 is 2. 1 minus 1, well, that's 0, but we won't do that. And so then our final answer is just 211. Okay, so that's what this would be after taking this number, subtracting the first batch, getting this number, subtracting the second part, and we get our final solution here. Now this one, we really have to pay attention to order because order matters in subtraction. So we first have to do that. So what we're going to do is take 640 minus 50. Well, 0 minus 0 is 0. Well, here that's not going to work because that 4 is smaller than the 5. So let's borrow one. So that's now a 5. This becomes 14. And so 14 minus 5, well, that becomes a 9. And then we have a 5 minus 0 is 5. So we have 590. So 640 minus 50 is 590. So now what we have is 1471 minus 590. And so that goes here. Well, 1 minus 0 is 1. Well, here that's smaller, so we can't do that. Well, this one's smaller too, so we have to go clear to the beginning and borrow 1 here. So 1 now becomes 0. This becomes 14, but we still have to borrow here. So now it becomes 13. and now this is 17. So when you borrow from all the way to the beginning, you just make the next one here 10 more than what it was. Then if you have to borrow one, you subtract one, and then put the 10 here. And so now we have the 17 minus the 9. So that's going to give us what, an 8? Then 13 minus 5, well, that's going to give us another 8. And then 0 minus that's 0. So again, a key thing with subtraction is we can just add backwards and see if we get the right thing. So we could have added these. 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 5 is 14, so that would give us a 4. We carry 1. And 5 plus 1 is 6, so that gave us what we wanted. So that subtraction we know is right. And what about this one? 0 and 1 is 1. 8 and 9 is 17, so we have 1 carried. So 8 plus 6 is 14, and so that does look to be the correct answer. Okay. All right, so the next two look like kind of application problems where we have to pull out numbers that we need. So the first one is about the war budget. So in 2010, federal budget allocates $534 billion for the Department of Defense space programs and an additional $130 billion for the nation's two wars. How much will the Department of Defense receive together? Okay, so what we have to do is just basically add those two together. And so we're going to drop the billions part for now, and we're going to drop the dollar sign. We're just going to say 534 plus 130, and we just add. So 4 and 0 is 4, 3 and 3 is 6, 5 and 1 is 6. And so now we can say, okay, how much will they receive altogether? Well, we're going to put our dollar sign back on, put our number in, 664, and put our units, which is billions. So $664 billion is how much they're going to get, okay, adding those two numbers together. Now this one's talking about the shuttle orbits. So the space shuttle usually orbits at 250 miles above the surface of the Earth. So if we think about that, we have the Earth, and out here, 250 miles, that's the space shuttle, okay? Now, to service the Hubble Space Telescope, the shuttle had to go to 350 miles above the surface. So that's going even further out here. So this is where it ends up. So this is then 350 miles. So how much higher did the shuttle have to orbit? Well, the total distance that it had to go to get here to the Hubble telescope was 350 miles. So that's the big number. And if we subtract off that first part, we should get this part because we take the whole thing minus the part here. That should leave that part here. So sometimes drawing a picture helps. So if we subtract off 250, 0 minus 0 is 0, 5 minus 5 is 0, 3 minus 2 is 1. So it looks like it's going to be 100 miles. That's how much higher it is. And so that was the number of dollars. And so this number then here is 100 miles. Had to go 100 miles further out than normal of 250 miles to get to the Hubble Space Telescope. Okay, so that's all I have for the extra examples for 1.2.